Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest on the show. His name is Seth Savoy. He is a very accomplished writer, director, and producer. And he's joining us today to talk about all things filmmaking, including his first full feature film, Echo Boomers. Enjoy. You struck me really interesting right away with, we're talking about filmmaking, and you said, is this something you do or is this a vocation?
Yeah,
And it
dude.
seems like, like that should be on a t-shirt or something. And I think that's an interesting aspect. You kind of go into what you mean by that.
Yeah, man. I just think it's one of these things that and I think it's something that actually happened after the very first movie that I made was it's like I don't know, you hear all these other directors talk about it and stuff, but like you always think that you're gonna make one great movie and like doors are gonna open and it's gonna become 10 times easier and all these great things and in reality, like sure it definitely gets easier, but you really, really, really gotta love it for the right reasons, or else it's not gonna work. And so I came out the very first movie, at least feature that I did, came out in 2020 with Michael Shannon and Patrick Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
and it just kind of didn't get the reception that I wanted, right? And like the thing was, is like at that moment you kind of have to decide. You're like, dude, is this a hobby that you're okay with, or is this something that like you're gonna do no matter what, no matter the reception, no matter all of it? Are you gonna keep doing it? And I just kind of found that that's just kind of how I work. So it's a vocation, man.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And that's a good segue for your first feature film that came out, Echo Boomers.
Yeah.
I got to catch it. It's on Amazon, everybody, if you haven't caught it yet. It's out on all platforms, but on Amazon, check it out. Very, very well done. And it's a true, based on, it's a true story. Interesting. Let's maybe first go into how you even came up with that idea. And I guess you can kind of loose synopsis, just let people know what it's about. But how did you come up with the idea? And what made that seem like, hey, man, this is the shot I'm going to go for?
It was just kind of a different time back then too. You know what I mean? It was like right around the time of the the 1% kind of riots and things like that. But which is just like all these other kind of movements have kind of branched off of that. But yeah, it was I was in college at Columbia here in Chicago, and I'd heard about these guys that went to Loyola that did this, and I knew a buddy that kind of knew them indirectly, and that's kind of how it started. And just so for anyone that doesn't know, it's about these four kids that get degrees in 2012, and they go into the work field and they can't find jobs, so they start staking out houses in richer neighborhoods in Chicago, and they start stealing art and jewelry is what they did, and it just kind of seems so fitting. It's like in today's world, I think Gen Z has like already kind of established that you don't need a degree, but like when we were growing up, it's like that's all our parents wanted for us. And so it was funny that you could feel it coming to the end of the line. Like all these people were saying, get a degree, get a degree, get a degree, then you didn't really need one.
Yeah.
And so there was a frustration there, at least from a lot of millennials about that. And I just thought that that was a really fitting story, and I really find the whole thing about it just really different. And I think a lot of people were frustrated with the movie, which is exactly kind of what we were aiming for. It's like these millennials don't change, and they do feel entitled the whole way through. And that was like very much intentional and by design. And so when I hear all these reviewers and these audiences saying that they hate these characters, it's a reflection a little bit. But yeah,
It's so wild, too. It's like a little twist, a real life twist on Robin Hood, but for the wrong reason. So,
yeah, 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 totally. And that was another really interesting thing about that in like today's world where we have like AI able to boost up all this footage and stuff like that. It's like we were really wrecking houses. Like we really went in there and designed these living rooms to be wrecked, which was just like super fun as you could imagine, and the actors loved it. But yeah, that was all by design, and all those lighting setups, they're not really enhanced. And in today's world, it's so easy to go in there and fix stuff. But even in 2019 when we shot it, it's like you really had to earn that look, and it took a lot. So
and like I said, I just met you. This is my second time talking with you, actually. I only met you that one
yeah,
time. You said what it took to get this film made. And you're like, I mean, just from raising the money and everything's on the line. This wasn't like, hey, I'm going to take a stab at this and, I'm doing good. Like you had, uh, it sounded
And
like
I
if it
knocked on
didn't
every
go
door, man.
well.
Yeah, yeah, I knocked on every single door, man. And that's what it takes. You know what I mean? Like people get really and I still do too, even after doing it so many times. I just get like going to raise money is just exhausting, right? But it's a part of the game that you kind of just have to learn to be comfortable with. And it gets easier for sure. But on that first one, I mean, I was knocking on everyone's door and getting friends and family and just like, everyone has this really grand idea that you're going to make your movie and it's going to be perfect. And the reality of it is there's a lot of bumps to get there. And there will be times that you feel sick that you're never going to get these people their money back and things like that. But, it's just part of the game that you kind of got to be comfortable with.
That is it. Like that's like I said at the beginning of this. That's why I want to start with. This is a vocation. Like
Yeah.
even you wanting to getting into Columbia for film school, you did
Yeah.
mention that wasn't a hop, skip, and a jump. Like actually, I believe if I
Yeah.
remember right, you first went out for it and they're like no,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
explore
Yeah.
that.
I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. So I was like born and raised Little Rock, which there are a ton of like, you know, Jeff Nichols is from Arkansas. There's a ton of really cool connects there. But yeah, man, I always just kind of knew that I wanted to do film. I was big into theater as a kid, and I kind of like, I don't know, I found it really beautiful that like in theater, you can have 10 different performances and every single performance is going to be different. And I really fell in love with film because I kind of started to notice that you could take the best versions of those theatrical days and put it into one medium, and it's like the perfect show. And so I always kind of knew I wanted to do that. And I went to a small University of Central Arkansas because they had a small film program to get my basics. And I applied to Columbia, and I brought this massive, ridiculous loan to my parents, and they were like, "Absolutely not! Like you don't get why, but like no, you're not going to do that." And so I had a buddy who his dad owns a music venue in Little Rock called the Rev Room, and the Rev Room was the only place that like kind of big rappers would perform. So it was R. Kelly, Kanye West, Asher Roth, and I went to my buddy's dad and was just like, "Look, let me shoot these guys for free. It's just a service that you can have. The performers can have the footage. I don't care. Just let me get on stage with them and let me be backstage with them and shoot them, so that I can send these reels out." And so that's what I did for 2 years while I was at this really small school in Arkansas, and then I sent that footage to Columbia, and they paid for my last 2 years, so it worked out. The hustle, man, the hustle. There was a moment there too where my mom was like, "You like," she has this really fun kind of realization where like she didn't understand that like you cannot work a 9 to 5 and still be working. So, I'd be leaving at like 10 at night to go shoot a rapper. And it took her a long time to realize that, like, oh, yeah, this is a job. And eventually she got it and she became really proud of it. But it just takes a minute.
I mean, it really does, and that's what I love about that, and that's also just entrepreneurship too. Like, there's no like you go from here to here. There's many different routes to get to your destination. At 45, I just started, and I'm like, I'm gonna meet someone here, and boom, I met you. I'm like, okay, this guy, he's got the like mindedness. As soon as you said that, the vocation concept, and that is interesting because myself, my own kind of psyche going into it, I have like 25 years of just like the hourly job and the hourly, that's
Sure.
just what is reality, and you're
Sure.
doing this shit, and it's like. Yeah, you're doing a midnight shoot, and you're doing you're in the trenches, and
Yeah.
you're in the
Yeah.
forest, and getting ticks on you. And
Yeah. That's the beauty of it, right? Like no days the same, which is, I think, why we get so addicted to it.
Yeah. Now, what could you say? Let's put us in your shoes too. Okay, we got kind of some of the pre-production concept like Echo Boomers, and we know a lot was writing on that. If there's a memorable, whether it's the first day on set or the first couple weeks on set,
Yeah.
are you
Like,
just in the mode or?
yeah, yeah. So like the biggest thing that I just think more filmmakers just need the reality check of it is that like you really do think that like and don't get me wrong, making films is such a privileged art form, right? Like so many other people have bigger problems. Like whether Echo Boomers is successful or not doesn't matter
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. But like as something that you just care about so much, right? that movie was really hard to make. Like that movie was, like people didn't get along on sets, and there were, like there was just it, and all of that begins to stack, and it makes every day a little bit harder. So like, yeah, you dream about making this movie, but at the same time, there's fires going on, like any production. There's fires going on 24/7 about it. And luckily it all worked out, but it's a lot more stressful than people think when, especially at that level, right? Like
Yeah.
I do, I'm really happy that I got to jump in the water like that, and make a movie that big that early. Like that was the first movie that I did, and it was like a $3 million movie. And there's the other side of the coin to that too, right? Like there was a lot of things that I learned on set that I probably should have learned on a smaller movie, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
But luckily, just the creatives that we were working with, whether it be the actors specifically, I mean, they were just so trusting, and so Mike included, and Patrick and all of them. I mean, they really trusted me with my vision, and Mike's done this, 150 times, right? Like he could have came on set and it been his set, and he was just such a humble tool of the actor or tool of the director, and it just makes you want to keep working for people like that.
What's interesting to me too is that director actor relationship, because their job is to take your script, and they're doing it. There's not. I know some people get notorious for like line reading or something BS like that, but
Sure,
there's a very like the job of let's because you wore a lot of hats in making this film.
sure. Yeah.
So maybe take us to perspective. First big movie. Okay, this is what I feel like I did right. This is what I experience I got out of directing these seasoned
Sure.
actors and stuff.
I think one of the biggest things that I really wish I had like a mentor that could have just given me a few tidbits. But you see this movie in your head for so long, and then you get on set, and it might not look like it, right? Like, and you can't explain it. Like something's just different. And um, for the first 3 weeks, I'd say I thought that was an awful thing. Like I wasn't getting what I wanted. But a part of this art form is just going with the flow, and rolling with the punches. And it took me longer than it should have on the first one to live in that moment, because I feel like that same with acting, right? It's like those actors that live in the moment and really find something original and one of a kind and sounds fresh. I mean, that's what this art form's about. Like you're showing up on set to be able to be adaptable, and to change things, and to find stuff that you weren't planning. And that was just a big lesson that I learned, that took me a long, long time. And I think it did hurt the film a little bit, because I was so stuck on it being this way. And then, in the editing room, it's just such a journey. You know what I mean? It's such a personal journey of getting in that editing room and being like, oh my God, this sucks. This is horrible. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. And then you keep digging, and you find something, and you find something. But I feel like the process would have been a lot more graceful if I'd have let myself just like have a little bit more fun and breathe as a director, and like really find things that might not have been in the text. So
I absolutely love that. I mean, I experienced that firsthand. I just did my first short films. You get in the middle of it, and you're like, oh, we can't get permits in time for this, or it's raining that day, and I always kind of sum it up. It's kind of like a smart way of healthy compromises as you're going. It's just I just need
sure.
to tell my story, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the path.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. And it never gets easier, right? I mean, sure, you might have more money to solve more problems, but there's still problems.
Yeah.
And you really do have to compromise at the end of the day. I think, I don't know how a lot of filmmakers today feel about the whole AI thing, but
Mm.
in terms of low budget filmmaking, in terms of people that are making movies for 3 million and under, it really gives these people the opportunity. Like, I think we shot Echo Boomers on 22 days, and which was a luxury, right?
Hmm.
Which was a big thing. But like in today's world, all of those little shots, like I could have probably gotten 5 or 6 more days of footage of just inserts or whatever, which now you can just do with AI. You know what I mean? Which comes with its curses, but when you're just trying to make your first film that's good,
Yeah.
like that's the bar, is just like getting it to where it's good. And it's so much harder than people think, man. I mean, 92% of movies, I'd say, are complete garbage.
Right.
And
Right.
then, and people, look, people say like, oh man, my film didn't get distro or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, good films speak for themselves. And you never hear distributors saying like, oh man, we have too many good films right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exist, right? Like it really does speak for itself, but that takes years and years and years of hammering at this vocation to get to something that's like really enjoyable, you know?
1,000%, and you can go off of Echo Boomers. I mean, you've done so many other productions and producing. Like I remember, you're really an advocate for helping your friends out and producing that, and for the community, and which is amazing. And I think an interesting side of this is maybe kind of moving forward. How, how you deal with your productions moving forward, what you've learned out of it. Because a thing I found a lot doing this and talking to different filmmakers is there's a lot of people with a lot of great ideas, and it's not even some people it's work ethic to follow through, but I feel like some people just have this blocker that it has to be.
Yeah.
I need this, $20,000 camera. Or I need this. Is there any like maybe rules of engagement here? Don't hold yourself back, because like you say, a lot of lessons you could learn on a shorter film that you did on this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that like I found it that it was very I don't know, like you can feel the people that are going to get their films made, right?
Mm.
You can really, really feel that. And after Echo Boomers, there was just a ton of kind of like friends that were really close that were like vocation level filmmakers that were like, man, I just got to get this first one made. I've got this talent or whatever it may be, and I'm just missing this one piece. And I really just respect people that are on that level of like, I will do anything to get my movie made. And so, I kind of started there of like the easy plugins, right? I'd find a buddy that was just missing some like Chicago support in some way, whether that be post or an investment or whatever it was. They were just missing one piece of the puzzle, because then I could like really impact it. So like once that started happening after Echo Boomers, where it's like I'd figured out the puzzle once, I had these puzzle pieces, I can help my friends out, and they actually have like a unique vision that I know is going to be good, then I'm willing to stick my neck out for them. And so that's been something that, it's pretty much been a movie a year since then,
Oh,
is
okay.
like finding these filmmakers that I really do think are special in some type of way. And I can't solve the whole puzzle for them, but I can give them one or two pieces that helps the journey just a little bit easier. And I'm a big fan of like, and maybe this is like a younger producer mindset, but I really do trust the directors, right? Like I'm not a producer that's going to come in here and say, hey, you need to change this or change that. Like I'll give you notes, but like this is your baby. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you're you're going to be the hangman on this, for better or worse, And so I'm just a big fan of like directors being able to have the time to do their thing, and that's really all you can do as a good producer in my eyes. But yeah, so that's kind of a thing. And then now it's just like trying to find good material, man. Like I'm in on helping any filmmaker just out of good karma, right? Like I'm a really, really big supporter of anyone that's chasing their dream that hard. And it's really hard to find good scripts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's not easy. Like you said, oh, we got too many good movies lined up. It's
Yeah, it's never a thing, man. It's
it's
never a
really.
thing.
What would you say too going into it, for anybody in any level of filmmaking, right? Because you wrote, direct, produce,
Yeah.
put the whole process. I don't know. Obviously money is always a factor, or seems to be a factor, right? But if you have the attitude, I believe, as a filmmaker, that it's not a factor, you will find a way to make your movie. So, what would you say outside of course, fundraising or whatnot, is kind of a major barrier for people to even get going? Because I do notice there's, like I said, a lot of people just, man, I just can't pull this trigger, and you're kind of like, dude, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, it's one of those things too that like um, you know, specifically Chicago, I mean, they have such a great tax credit program
Hmm.
that like, it really does make your life like, their tax credits at 40%, right? As of this year, I think they are. They just released a green initiative that brought it from 35 to 40. So it's like it literally makes your job raising money 40% easier.
Right.
Like literally, which is great. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, like it's really hard to come to the realization of how much you have when it comes to filmmaking, right? Like if you have 50 grand and that's what you have, well then, you don't have the luxury of, finding this crazy camera, or which I think the quicker that people, younger filmmakers, kind of acknowledge that, like they start to realize like it's not about the camera. It's not about the camera. It's about the reps. It's about getting the reps in. And yeah, man, your first feature might suck. And that's the hard part of this game is it may take you 5 years to make a movie that you hate. But the name of the game is reps, right? It's about
Reps,
getting
that's
out there doing it
reality.
again and again. Yeah, yeah,
And it's an interesting factor because yeah, you jump right out the gate, like, hey, I'm swinging for a grand slam here, and it's tough. And
yeah,
how do you do that? Because I remember you mentioned at the beginning of this today, it didn't turn out exactly the the reception and things like that,
yeah.
and also some part by design, with some of the people, critics and stuff
Sure,
talking. So what would you say? Because some people like, dude, that was so damn hard to do, and
sure,
also getting shit on the whole way through at the
sure.
end.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
makes you like, hey, cool, go on to the next one?
Yeah, yeah. I
Words to
mean,
live by?
it's that vocation thing, man. It's like you're either gonna do it or you're not. And like that was kind of a pretty deciding moment for me because, like it's interesting how much time it might take you to love your own movie. And, like you hear all these Rick Rubin quotes that are like, man, just, make it for you and not for anyone else, which I'm totally in support of. But sometimes you just get in the editing room and you just don't have what you want. You know what I mean? And then that comes the realization of like, there's only so much you can fix. But I'm just a big fan of like, look, man, it's always going to be hard, and that's why you just have to accept it and either decide like, oh yeah, I'm going to be the type of person that makes one film and then stop, or you're going to be one of those people that are just going to do it forever.
Yeah, it's a depends on the person too. How they
Yeah,
address
totally.
it or
And
whatnot.
and and everything, man, like financial situation and all those things come into play. But I've found it that, and I don't get the same satisfaction, producing as I do directing, right? Like it's just because it's not mine. At least that's how I look at it. It's that other director's, right? And there's something about not having that responsibility that's nice because you can move on with your life in 2 months. But when you direct something, I mean, that thing's your baby for 5 years.
And well, let's put it in that perspective too. Like if you were to talk, to the Seth all those years ago that first went submitted to Columbia and got declined or whatnot, and
Yeah,
talking to the dude I'm talking to now, what would advice would you give that guy from back then? Like, hey man, that
yeah,
perspective is pretty surreal.
yeah, dude. Everything's gonna take ten times longer than you think. That's for sure. Which sucks, but that's a part of the game. But I think we really do have a curse and a blessing as filmmakers to be patient, and we have to be, right? Like that's just a part of the game on getting things done. Is you have to be patient. And I think that's a great quality to have. I think the moment that we actually do get to direct something and produce something, it's such a blessing that I don't know. I'm just a big fan of filmmakers that are patient because the moment that you get your chance, I think it just helps you be better.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And who would you say are some, if you had a Mount Rushmore, like who are some of your favorite
You know,
filmmakers?
I'm a big fan of like guys like Damien Chazelle. I think Damien Chazelle who did Whiplash and La La Land, and like those are the type of filmmakers that he got nominated for Whiplash, and that was his first movie, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you can tell the level of intelligence just off of the way that that movie was written, and it's so hard to not compare yourself to those people,
yeah. Yeah, I
right?
know.
Like you make a movie and it doesn't even get close to that level, and you look at it as a failure, and it's clearly not, but it's just so hard to get that out of your mind sometimes. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Damien Chazelle. I'm a big fan of um, just a whole bunch of Goodfellas, Martin Scorsese.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember seeing Goodfellas for the first time when I was in college, and it was one of those moments where like life before it, life after it. Like it was the best piece of cinema I'd ever seen, and I still think is. But I'm also a really big fan of like movies that just make you feel something, man. Like Little Miss Sunshine
Yeah.
or Up, or like these movies that are just like emotionally, they just get you, and I think that's what going to the movies is all about.
I mean, that's really what it is. Especially, writer director, you can orchestrate that beforehand a lot better. or because your hands in every moment of that, and that's what you're trying to
Yeah.
do, right? You're trying to create these moments that create feeling, or that one shot, or the character development, the downfall and this character right here, whatnot. And I think, at least my experience on it, the more it is, you can plan as much as you want. It's reps, man.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
it boils down to that.
Yeah, it's about reps too, but I think you just grow in a whole bunch of different ways. Like through all these other movies, like I think one of the things that I didn't quite understand the gravity of on the first one was how vital it is to not only treat your crew nice, but like, dude, we're all doing this because we love it. And if, someone's kind of being a problem or whatever, it's just way easier to let them go and like let everything just kind of like calm. But yeah, I really found it that treating your crew properly, even if it's small things, right? Even if it's like after week one, getting everyone on the crew their favorite alcohol, or having a barista come through on Fridays. It's a traveling whatever, or get a masseuse for a day, or whatever it may be. I mean, like I've always found that money goes the furthest because everyone is just they realize that they're all in it together, and that's so much what filmmaking is, right? It's like, yeah, sure, people are doing it for paychecks, but they're doing it because they love it and they love the differentiation of the days and all this stuff. And the more that you can make it special like that, I think it pays off tenfold. So, since Echo Boomers and I do a lot of stuff here in Chicago, but we've I've established a reputation with crew members now that they know that they're going to be taken care of. And I think that that's something that, I know that when an indie comes, I can make calls and get a crew together, even if the city's busy, because they know that I'm going to treat them right. And if they're on, if they're working 18 hours on Chicago Fire, they'd much rather come and, know that they're going to be treated right for 12 hours than have to do this like wildly taxing shoot. So that's something that I really take seriously and I'm proud of every time we try to be a little bit better to them.
I mean, it's the people business, man. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, I
Yeah.
mean, do you have any upcoming projects that you would like to discuss or talk about or direct us?
Yeah, man. I've got this one that I'm just so excited about. Which it's kind of like the first big jump into TV, but
Is this the stock exchange one?
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
dude,
yeah,
I was like ready to watch it just hearing you talk about it.
yeah. So what a lot of people don't know is, from 82 to 87, the Mercantile Exchange here in Chicago, which is a commodities market, which sounds so boring, but they were the only place in the world that you could trade for yourself and your firm at the same time. And so because of that, that was legal for 5 years. And it's kind of very similar to how The Big Short would explain something, right? It's like what was happening in those 5 years made the Mercantile Exchange the largest trading floor in the world. So, for 3 or 4 years, they suppressed the New York Stock Exchange, and whatever happened in Chicago moved the markets. And a lot of people didn't know that was, the crazy part about being on a trading floor, and we just don't have it today, but it's the closest thing to a coliseum that the United States ever had. Like physical size and volume and all those things came into play. It was just it's a baffling thing, but what ends up happening at the Merc is it becomes so profitable to kind of jump in front of the customer is what they were doing realistically. And to simplify it, like if I'm dual trading and I'm trading for Goldman and I'm trading for me, and I see this massive order of 5,000 gold come in, and I know it's going to move the market, it's like, well, I'll take the first 1,000 for me, sell the other 3,000, let the price go up, and then I'll sell mine. And you can just do that over and over and over. And they did that for 5 years. They technically it's for sure stealing and it's for sure insider trading today, but back then it was legal, and it became so profitable that the Chicago outfit started realizing that it was easier to send guys into the pit and trade with each other than it was to shake down mom and pop shops. So, come 86, 87, there's this huge influx of outfit members in the pits, and the FBI's were watching them, and they were like, why are these outfit members in the pits? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And when they really started looking around, they realized that the big fish weren't these outfit members. It was these white collar guys that were stealing from the outfit, or they were stealing from the customer. And then what ended up happening in 87 was the crash, but come 88, they made dual trading illegal, and the FBI started sending fake traders into the pits to figure out who was still doing it. So yeah, just going to be an incredible TV show. It's like the perfect cross between, like, a lot of people don't know that, like, in Casino, in Scorsese's Casino, the end of that movie is the beginning of the Merc, because they lose Vegas and they need something closer to home, and the outfit realizes that that's, a financial institution that's 3 blocks away that's pumping out millionaires every day. So that's kind of the trajectory of it, is we pick up literally as soon as Casino ends, which is a great, like, run into the story. But
Hey, you just do a back to back.
yeah,
Watch
the
Casino
thing
go
is
right in.
too, it's like we haven't done justice to these incredible outfit stories in Chicago specifically. Like
Yeah.
in New York, they have the five families and it's a little different. While in Chicago, they had one single outfit. And we've never heard those stories, and that's exactly what the Merc is. Half of it is, yeah, this very fun financially story that's like very similar to like a Wolf of Wall Street or The Big Short, and then on the other side of that, you have this like very intense soprano level story, and that's the intersection of the show.
That sounds phenomenal. And I believe you did say you had a connection with one of the guys to talk to and that were involved in that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, one of the old investors in my first movie was a trader down there, and he was just kind of instrumental in telling me these ridiculous stories, and they became so consistent that, like, I was like, man, I really just got to take time to interview more people. And so I spent like 2 years and I interviewed like 100 and over 150 of them, and just started collecting these stories, man. Like, I feel like from a directing perspective and from a showrunner perspective, I can't go to a trading floor today, right? Like, they're extinct. And so, like, my only advantage is I can read a million books, right? Sure. But, like, really knowing these people and understanding their stories is what gives me my advantage as a showrunner and a storyteller. So I pretty much took 2 years and just interviewed as many traders as I could meet with. And it's incredible, not only how big that community is, but like these guys dream of those days. Like, when you hear them talk about it, like there's that sparkle in their eye, that they're just so sad that this thing died because it was so American. And it obviously was its largest in this greed is good mentality of the Reagan era. But it was just such a unique piece of history that it's crazy that a show's never been made about it. But I mean, we're gonna be the one that really gets this thing out. So that's the one that I'm most excited about, just because it's such an incredible story, and we've done so much research to make this a 10 out of 10 show. So yeah, man, that's gonna be the next one for sure.
And I think that's a major factor is that research that goes into it. Like you said, 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
can you say your perspective from going from telling a story, a complete story in a feature film like Echo Boomers, and then
Yeah.
spreading this out to let's say like an 8 to 10 episode or whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell a much fuller story in season one than you could in a feature. What was that like writing wise and getting out the
Dude,
entertainment of the information?
man, I loved the writing process on TV way more than a feature,
Really?
which I was kind of surprised by. For some reason, the details seem a little bit more important in a TV, which seems like it would be the opposite. But you can just lay so much flooring for later, so much scaffolding for later, and it just kind of gives you the freedom to explore these like really human moments that in a feature they might say, oh, well, this isn't progressing the story fast enough or whatever it may be. But I've really found that the writing process on TV, I mean, it definitely takes way longer, and it takes, it's impossible to get anyone to read anything on TV, and you're asking for 10 times the investment that it would take on a movie. But at the end of the day, I feel like TV is a really respected medium, and if you get a season two, then it kind of changes the game. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it, dude. I think there's something about TV that the structure feels a little bit more natural to me.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, you get more opportunity to tell a story. And another thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, you hear Martin Scorsese talk about it, Steven Spielberg, many different directors. Like it seems like one of I've heard it worded this way: the first most important job or one of the most important jobs of a director is casting.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're not getting your story told maybe the way you want to. Can you kind of go into like your experience with that, and how much do you back that up, that concept up? How important is that?
Yeah, I had a professor at Columbia named John Hancock, and John he'd done a ton of movies, but he was kind of an older guy. But that's one of the first lessons that he told us. He was like, "Man, casting is 90% of your job. Like if you cast correctly, you pretty much have made have done what you the biggest hardest part." And what's crazy about it in today's world, it's just so hard to find the right talent. I mean, it's just it just takes forever to get reads these days, right? And it's just the level that I'm at in my career right now. Like, you're the sixth script, not the first script that they got to read. But and so you have to be ready for that wait time. But and it's a little shocking too. Like you think that you find an actor that you like a lot, and you think that he would be this type of guy, and then you hear back from him or his agent, and you realize that they're not that type of person at all. Like, we think we know these people and we don't, right? Like, we don't know their preferences, and we don't know all these type of things. So it really does feel like sometimes you're randomly like throwing darts in the dark. um but eventually you find it, right? Like, everything's meant to be. So like eventually you find those people that kind of the story starts to resonate with them, or they like that style, or they like action, or they like heist movies, or whatever it may be. So
I love it. I mean, this is great inside perspective overall. And I think another thing too, like going through this, because I didn't know I had, for me, I didn't know I had this as an opportunity as a career at all. Like I didn't even think, I already was like married, kids, decades of raising a family and stuff. And I was just like, man, like this is, yeah, you got access to high end cameras everywhere. The software is ready to go. I spent like pretty much lockdown is when changed my path on it. And by day, I owned my own Brazilian Jiu Jitsu school. So unfortunately, 2018, I got rear ended and it just kind of ended my career. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going with this. And I have buddies that are writing films for Amazon and stuff, and they're like, and this is not advocating either way, but they're like, don't go to film school. I'm like, why? You did. He's like, dude, just like you could do this, and this. And that's been kind of like my first short film. I did like 4 years of film school in 6 months. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm with that mentality, man. I mean, in today's world, you can literally just get out there and do it. Especially like, I feel particularly bad for these actors. Because actors, I mean, like, I feel like their hustle is so much harder than ours. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it's one of those things that I think that casting is like it's like a different muscle than acting.
yeah,
Like,
I
casting in
see.
itself is its own skill, and you have to be really, 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 really good at casting, and then you actually have to go do the job. You know what I mean? And it takes actors so long just to get good. They can be an incredible actor, but if they don't know how to do it in the room, then it doesn't really matter. And it just seems like they have to, and I guess we do too. We have to learn how to produce and direct and all these things. But I feel it for those actors, man. It's a hustle for them.
It really
And they get
is.
told no way more than we do. So
That's a good perspective right there.
yeah,
It is interesting, but I think another important thing for people to do is just keep, whether it's actors or writers or directors or whatnot, just you got to keep just get out of the house and interact and put things out there. I've even interviewed like stunt performers. Like I got all these gigs for mocap for video games because I was emulating street Tekken moves on YouTube, or like like get out to film festivals
interesting.
or whatever. Just get out and be active as you can. But like for film, a feature film and or a season of a TV show like you're working on. I mean, like you said, like 2 years in development so far, and it's like
Yeah,
there's so much writing on that. You do have moments where you're like, what am I doing, man?
yeah, for sure, all the time, man. It's one of those things too that I feel like after the first one, um, it just really hit me that it's all about how many irons that you have in the fire, right? Like, how many cakes can you put in the oven? Because you never know which one's gonna happen,
I
right?
love
Or
that.
which one's
Yeah.
gonna happen first. So it's like you really gotta, have spin as many plates as possible. And yeah, sure, one will eventually happen, and it may take twice as long as you think, but at least I don't know. I regret that a lot about After Echo Boomers not having something like totally ready to go,
Yeah.
because the opportunities were there. I just thought the universe would give it to me, but I really needed to have something prepared and ready. And in today's world now, it's like I've learned that, so it's like having a TV show and three features and, helping other people produce stuff. And, I have my hands on every single part of the game in some way.
It's dead on because I mean essentially between you finish your film, it gets released and everything, you're essentially unemployed.
Yeah. The thing is too, is like people don't realize, like I got really lucky with Echo Boomers. Like it was a good enough movie that we found distro immediately, but a lot of people don't have that luxury. And it might just be because they don't have stars or whatever it is, but a lot of people, they think that they're going to finish their movie and then everyone's going to see it. And the reality of it is, we came out with a movie that I produced this last summer called Pools. And Pools has Odessa Zion in it from Marty Supreme.
Awesome.
And like, we shot that 3 years ago, right? And it took the director a year or so to do it all. So like he sat on that movie for 2 years because he wanted it to be the right time. And he knew that Odessa was doing the Safdie movie and all these type of things. But like, the patience again that it takes to sit there for 2 years when you have a finished product and to wait for it just kind of be the right time in the universe, it can hurt you, but yeah, that's just another part of the game. It's like the distro part. It's like I really do hope that there start to be new avenues for distro, because I feel like it's still such a boys club, right? Like you got to know a sales agent, and the sales agent has a relationship, and like we sold movies to Universal and Saban and Roku. All that was Echo Boomers, and like I didn't get to have a single conversation with Roku, right? Like they just said, yeah, we love it, we'll take it. And I think in today's world, maybe I'm still holding on to something that doesn't exist anymore, but I really like this idea of having relationships with these studios and like having a vested interest in who you are as a producer or director or whatever it may be. And I feel like sometimes the middleman can be the one that makes sure that doesn't happen, you know?
Is there anything else you want to plug? I mean, we did talk about a future TV project.
We've got a few more coming out this year. We've got one with Lakeith Stanfield called Double Blind, which would be a fun one. But yeah, man, just stay on the lookout. I'm a big supporter of anything Chicago film, so I'm just here to support.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Methods of Fiction. To hear more insights from filmmaking and entertainment industry professionals, subscribe to our video podcast on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to follow us there as well. We look forward to having you join us again on the next episode.